Now this lesson we're going to part 2 of developing a painting using a snow and creek scene. First part was going over the composition, looking for different shapes and sizes, how to compose the abstract shape of the plains. Now we're going to the next stage of more finish, but before we think about the painting in terms of finish or detail, we want to think in terms of broken color. Broken color is a way to suggest finish in an area or depth in an area or vibration of color that makes it look more finished without doing detail. Technically, detail is small dark and light changes. Broken color is same value, different color. Again, it creates a vibration in a larger area. It gives it a bit more depth than if it was just a flat color, or having a bunch of little different value changes that make things look busy.
Now we want to focus on the finish of the painting, how we break up that big simple block in that we start with simple values, simple color, and spending most of the time on that block in keeping it simple, but the point is to get the right value relationships. In other words, the right value of, the right dark against this dark of the snow. Has to be that right relationship. The right sunlit green on the shrubbery compared to the sunlit light on the snow. So it's getting the right value relationship so everything works together correctly. And that's what takes a long time. I can get big simple shapes, big, simple, dark and light areas, but then have to go back in and keep adjusting them until they have the right relationship with each other. And that's the key point. And that's why we don't want to focus on one area and try and match the value we see. This snow has to be light compared to the shadow and compared to the light on the trees and shrubbery here. Same thing with the water. It's a light or dark compared to what's next to it. So after we get that, after we're satisfied with the relationships, value-wise, the composition, and this composition, what I like about it is there's a lot of strong contrast between the shapes. Shape of the water, shape of the snow on either side of the water, and then the shape of the two areas of trees. And they're all different shapes. They kind of interlock with each other and really works well. Nice, simple composition, and the values have the right relationship with each other. Then when we talk about finish, he has picked this shrubbery in here and the water to have detail. Everything else is just a simplified dark and light. And this is Edward Redfield, by the way, East Coast American Impressionist, early to mid 20th century. Painted outside a lot, but very simple except for the areas that he wants to render. The rest of it is kept, again, real simple. He's more concerned about refining the shapes and refining the big value relationships than with detail. Although there's quite a bit of detail in the water. But it only works because everything else is kept a lot simpler, except for the greens there. Now this is another one by Edward Redfield. And this one's different. A lot busier. Not as easy to look at. Your eye there's nowhere to land with all of this detail. I mean, still a nice painting. But when you get to this, it's a little easier to look at in here. My eye looks up here and just skims, but it always rests right here. But I'm going to simplify a few things here. If I were to create a few more, and if your paintings are out there, you always have a bunch that you look at and you think, gee, I wish I could have done that differently. Even I think Rembrandt has those. And not to say the one he did was wrong. It had a nice feel to it, but having some flatter areas where your eye can rest a bit more. I think it's easier to flow around these shapes of bare foliage or bare tree branches, flat snow. There's still some detail, a lot of detail in here and in the water. So it's not like we're getting rid of all the detail, but it does simplify it, make it a little bit easier. And this is another Edward Redfield. And this one, again, very simple except for the water and a couple of clumps of greenery. But the background is about two values of muted blue-gray and then a darker gray or violet for trees, and it's very simple, one color, one value, then it's just kind of broken up with the snow. But very simple, and my eye can skip along in these flat light areas and wind down to the creek here and then to the water in front. So it works really nicely. And there's not much color in it either. There's some yellows and greens, and the rest is blues and blue violets and grays. But it's the value relationships that make it work and the simplicity of it. How he simplifies is what makes this work. And that's not to say the detail is bad, because it's not. But you have to apply the detail just where you want it, not everywhere. Don't be like a camera and see all the detail everywhere. It takes time where you just spend some time looking at the reference or at your painting and deciding where you want the detail, and a conscious decision of where you're going to take the detail out. So a couple of more paintings here. Those are all the red fields. This is a John Carlson. And again, busy in here, a lot of different colors of foliage, or not foliage, bare branches. And the grass, the snow are kept very simple. So knowing how to simplify but yet still make it read works real well. The stream, the dark stream, contrasts the white snow, and that pulls the viewer into the trees where all the color is. And then the blank snow back in the background pulls you back into, or the tree does, pulls you back to the front again. So it's a real nice kind of the circular composition. But he's thinking through where all the weight is. It's up here on the right, upper right corner. And the creek starts from the left and pulls you into the right. And again, those big, flat, simple areas of the fields, the snow, the hills, they're all very simple. And it allows your eye to kind of move through the composition. Real strong contrast too between the real light trunks and the dark trunks. So it's not learning to render detail, it's learning what detail to leave out and how to simplify it. This is another Carlson. I think it's a 40 by 50. It's a large painting, but of a small area. And it's very abstract, a definite abstract shape of the creek, the rocks, the trees, and this area up in here in the upper right. All that contrasts the snow, which kind of flows throughout the whole thing in the middle. Very nice composition. I really like the variety of color in the water. It's not just dark blue and light blue. It's dark and a light, but a lot of color. A lot of warm colors in here. You got pinks, yellows, oranges, and the shadows have blues, reds, greens, grays. A lot of color, but within the same value. This is all a dark reflection, but he's got 4 or 5 different colors in there. And color-wise, that's what you want to do. Same thing here, an overall dark value, and 3 or 4 different colors of green. A couple of lighter values, but for the most part, the color changes are the same color. When you look at your subject matter after it's blocked in, really take some time to decide where you're going to eliminate detail and how you're going to eliminate it. You know, what color and value you're going to use to simplify an area. And it helps to do that with a sketchbook and a pencil sometimes. You can just draw in the shapes, values of how you're going to arrange the composition, and that really simplifies the detail. If you can think of everything in terms of, like this creek here is a dark shape abstractly, snow's a dark or light shape, snow up here is a light shape, and then that pattern of darker violet and red oranges in the bare branches.